This episode of Defending Truth is brought to you by the Four Persons Network. Learn more at thefourpersons.net. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Defending Truth. So thank you for joining me for this great episode. I'm very honored to have my good friend, now Dr. Ann DeSantis. She's a Catholic author.
Thank you so much for hosting me on the program.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to have you on to talk about your great new book titled The Virtue of Affability or Friendliness and Its Relevance in Modern Evangelization. So I'm reading through your book, a lot of great stuff here. Can you walk us through how this book came about?
Oh, I'd be happy to. So back in October of this year, 2024, I earned my doctorate in theology from Pontifex University. This topic was actually my dissertation topic. The virtue of affability, which essentially is our openness, our friendliness that we have with other people in imitation of Christ, in imitation of the saints. And so the book really is a walk through what that virtue is, where it came from, and how we can apply it. Really, that's the bottom line of the book, is how do we apply it in our modern day society today, where there is so much discord between people who are having a hard time really getting along, being able to be congenial, being able to communicate properly with people that we know and don't know. And so that's really where it came from.
So, like I said, this came about as your dissertation topic from Pontifex University. Was there something that you encountered that made you decide on this topic?
Actually, yes. I would say that it has been some of my own personal experiences in the church. A lot of times in the church and in evangelization, we say, what are we doing wrong here? Why are people leaving the church? Why are people not attending Mass? Why are they disassociating themselves from Catholicism? And of course, we know we do have the deposits of the truth, and that is really the most important thing. But to some people out there, some people in society who are more secular minded, they don't care about that. What they care about is the reaction that they get from Catholics and Christians, and being able to feel like they can be accepted for who they are. Now, of course, we're not talking about sin. As Catholics, we know we're always trying to avoid sin. So we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the acceptance of sin. We're talking about meeting people where they are through this virtue of affability, which is our openness. It's really not only our actions with others, but it's our reactions to people too. And so that's just a little bit about the book and how it came about.
I know in your book, you talk about the teaching of Pope Francis. You go through scripture, you go through other wisdom from the great saints of the church. And can you walk us through some of those that maybe stuck out to you the most in your research?
Well, yes. And the book, even the cover itself, is a picture of Pope Francis in a crowd smiling. And some of you who are watching this podcast are aware of some of his more larger pieces of writing, say the Amoris Laetitia, and actually I have it right here, the Evangelii Gaudium, another one that he wrote, and some of the other more recent ones. And when I read through them, I thought there's sort of this underlying message in all of his writings. It's really a message to people on an individual level. Of course, there's always that group level, the group mentality of what can we do to make the church reach out more evangelization. But he always talks about the fact that it's a personal decision, the way that we interact in the very small ways every single day of our lives as people, as humans, as Catholics. And how do we interact with people? When you think about the people that we all know, people in our own homes, and then we have our extended family, our neighbors, our community, our people that we go to church with. I think that we all have a tendency to be comfortable with the people that we really want to be with and hang out with. But we're not as comfortable with people that we don't know. Maybe there's somebody in your neighborhood or my neighborhood that is a shut-in or someone that doesn't have support. Maybe it's a child at a school that's feeling bullied, or even in a college or at the university level. Maybe it's a neighbor or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin that nobody's talking to for some reason. Or maybe someone at church. It could be somebody that you see at daily Mass that isn't in that sort of that breakfast club, the group that they all know each other, they're friends with the pastor, they're very involved. And we look at ourselves and say, what can we do to be better evangelizers? Well, there it is. I mean, these are the small ways, but that are very large ways that we can make a difference. And this is really what my book is about.
Yeah, that's great. When I was reading through the first few pages of your book, I couldn't help but think about interactions that I have online, especially like on X. I still call it Twitter, but X,
Yeah.
where some people say in evangelizing that it's like they're trying to win the argument instead of reaching out to the person. So I guess how does the virtue of affability interact with our everyday transaction? What you said, the neighborhoods, whether it be online or personal conversations, things like that.
Yeah. As I said, it's in those very small ways. It's in the way that we, and I said the way that we act, but it's also how we react. And that can be either online or in person. A lot of times, as I said, we just get very, very comfortable with people that we agree with.
Mhm.
And we need to see the humanity in all of us. In Matthew 25, Jesus lays it out for us. He says that it's the way that we offer ourselves in giving drink to the thirsty, giving food to the hungry, and also visiting the prisoners. You know, those prisoners aren't always people in the prison system, although a lot of times, you know, they could be, but they're people that we know very well. And they're people that go unnoticed. So while we're worried about winning an argument, there's people around us that are really calling out for some kind of attention. A lot of times it's just the listening ear, that active listening, something that we can do. All of us can do that, is listening to people's stories. And as Catholics, and especially you and I, Bill, as people who are educated in the faith, you know, there is that sort of that fine line between like, okay, what is sin and what is not sin? And I think sometimes we get really caught up in making sure that everybody understands what sin is. Well, one of those sins is really neglecting the people who are marginalized. That is a really big and major sin that we forget. You know, we worry a lot about some of those things, you know, typical things, I guess maybe those 10 commandments. And we should be, right? We should be very concerned about those, and that everybody understands why you should avoid it. But we need to remember too, that one of those sins really is not following Christ in that particular way. And so that's what this book is all about. I think, especially for very serious minded Catholics, we really lose sight of that. I am hoping that this book can get into the hands of priests, religious, those in the academic world, theological world. I would love it to get over to the Vatican. I'd love for the Pope to get this book. I'd love for him to be able to read it, and for them, you know, people within his circles to be able to be aware of it. So I'm hoping that that's something that can be done, so that this message of affability can be taught, because a lot of people have no idea. I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to about this book and say, you know, I've never heard of that. Well,
Right.
maybe it's time that people do find out about that.
Right. Because in the whole grand scope of evangelization, it's a very important topic that, except like you pointed out, just, I don't want to say ignored, but it's almost to that point. So what feedback have you received about the book so far?
I would say pretty good feedback so far. I mean, honestly, you might see there's like a box in the back there. Like, that's actually a box of the book. And literally the box just came like on Christmas Eve. So from when this podcast is being taped on New Year's Eve, 2024. So, I mean, it's literally just been published. The doctorate itself went through on October 18th, 2024. That's the Feast of St. Luke. I was happy about that. It's a great feast day for the doctorate to go through and happen. So yeah, so far so good. Anybody who's watching, hey, if you could help me out, spread the word. My website is anndesantis.com. And I just invite people to, you know, go on my website, learn about the book. It's been published by En route Publishing. I thank Dr. Sebastian Mahfoud for being the one to publish the book for me. And yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come in spreading this message. You know, it's not, to me, it's not so much about me or the book or selling the book. It's really about people being educated in this, because you know, we think about, say, the message of theology of the body, which really went just worldwide, didn't it? I mean, everybody
Yeah.
knows what theology of the body is. And I think it's a wonderful thing, the way that that was really brought to life. Well, I'm kind of hoping that this same message of affability and something so simple as how we interact in our daily lives, I really hope that it can get out there and that we understand how important it is. You know, we're not in heaven yet. Sin affects all of us, and I mean all of us. So even those who are very holy and well schooled in theology and people who are, attending daily mass or prayer groups, rosary groups, we're not there yet, right? So for all those people that we're praying for, we got to pray for ourselves too, because evangelization starts with us. And if we don't get this, if we don't understand how important this virtue is, I mean, that's not a good thing. So that's one way that we can really, I think, help to get that message out about this valuable virtue. Message. I think it's kind of sad that it even has to be a topic for a dissertation. Does that make sense? Because it's almost like it's so simple, but I think in a lot of ways, when in our evangelization practices, we've lost it. We've lost it. We get so caught up in the minutia of proving who's right, who's wrong, who's on the right side, the left side of even our Catholicism, as we do in the political world, that we forget that it's really about those very small interactions that we have on an everyday basis with people that is all about our salvation, right? It's about our own salvation. And it is a way that we can conquer sin in our lives, right? Is that when we give ourselves to others, those who don't have the love and support that they deserve, right? Everybody deserves that. We look at like some of the psychological issues and illnesses and things that people go through, even like rates of people who are taking their own lives and things like that. I mean, what can we do for them? What can we do? I mean, obviously we can pray, but I think in knowing and understanding this virtue, we can do more for people.
Right. So check out the book. It's published by En Route and it's on Amazon as well. And if you're a subscriber to their to Amazon Unlimited, it's part of the subscription. So you can Shanada's Foundation here in Philadelphia. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and the work you do there?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Our website is nonatus.org, and we were formed through the Mercedarian Religious Order. And what we do is we make free pastoral outreach to individuals and families in crisis. What are those crises? It could be anything from relationship crisis, divorce, separation, job loss, loss of a loved one, health crisis, someone who's helping someone with a health crisis. The list goes on and on and on. And so we offer free pastoral care. By that, I mean free appointments, either online or on a call or in person if the person is in the Philadelphia area or at one of our Mercedarian communities, which are in Ohio, Florida, near the St. Petersburg area, Cleveland, Columbus, and then Western New York as well. I invite people to reach out to me so they can make that free appointment. We have online prayer requests that are confidential. We do retreats, podcasts, and more. So I appreciate your asking me about the foundation.
Oh, my pleasure. And for those of our listeners who live in Philadelphia, because this show airs in Philadelphia, where would they go for like a physical location if they wanted to get that assistance?
Well, I would say that they first need to reach out to me at the foundation by going to the website and just the contact form at nonatus.org. So do that first, and then you can make that appointment because we have a parish. The Mercedarians are at Our Lady of Lourdes in the Overbrook section of Philadelphia at 63rd and Lancaster Avenue in Philly. And once you do that and make that appointment through me, then you can possibly do that in-person appointment.
Great. Well, check them out and check out Dr. DeSantis' book. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Bill. I so much appreciate being on your program. God bless.
God bless.